My impoverished roommate loves playing pranks. During high-temperature military training, she replaced the cold water in my cup with boiling water, causing me to scald my throat. At the freshman welcome party, she secretly rubbed chili powder on my underwear, making me the laughingstock during my stage performance. Later, when the dorm advisor came for inspection, she tossed a fake pregnancy report onto my bed, ruining my reputation and turning me into a despised outcast. Afterwards, she put on an innocent face and said, "I was just joking. Who knew everyone would take it seriously? Why don't you go to the hospital and get a virginity certificate? Could it be you're really pregnant?" I was so furious that I got into a physical fight with her, but she ended up pinning me down on the dormitory toilet. Before dying, she spoke her heart to me. "Why do you get to use a Starbucks water cup, wear Chanel underwear, and even have silk bedding? I fucking hate pretentious bitches like you who flaunt their wealth. Why don't I have your luck? You deserve to die." When I opened my eyes again, the scholarship student was handing me my water cup. I pried open her mouth with my hand and forcibly poured the entire cup of boiling water down her throat. "In this lifetime, I'll make sure you see just how terrible the consequences of joking around can be. Mingxue, here's your water. It's so hot outside. You should drink more." My roommate Zhao Shaoqin handed me the cup, kindly reminding me with a friendly expression. My heart skipped a beat as I quickly glanced around the familiar playground, with all my classmates wearing military training uniforms, taking in the scene before me. Only then did I realize I had been reborn. I returned to the day of military training, the day Zhao Shaoqin brought me boiled water. In my previous life, it was the beginning of freshman year during military training. With temperatures soaring close to 40 degrees Celsius, I had prepared cold water in advance and placed it in a thermos, bringing it to the sports field. During the break, I was about to go to the viewing stand to get my water bottle. Seeing me drenched in sweat, my roommate Zhao Shaoqin offered to help bring the water bottle over. Watching my kind-hearted roommate bustling about, I didn't think much of it and took a big gulp from the bottle as soon as I got it, but the next second, I screamed in pain. "Zhao Shaoqin, why is the water in my cup boiling hot?" Zhao Shaoqin looked at me in shock and retorted, "Oh my god, why would you put boiling water in a thermos on such a hot day?" Trembling with anger, I choked back tears and demanded, "I clearly installed." Before the words could leave my mouth, a burning pain surged from deep within my throat. Tears as large as beans fell to the ground along with the pain. Seeing this, Zhao Shaoqin immediately reported to the instructor, and I was sent to the school hospital for treatment. When I returned to the dormitory and confronted her about why she did it, she casually replied, "I'm from the countryside. Where would I have seen such a high-end thermos like yours? I thought your cup had a cooling function, that hot water poured in would instantly turn into ice water. I was just joking with you." Two roommates also tried to calm me down, saying she didn't mean it. To apologize, Zhao Shaoqin offered to do my laundry for a month. I couldn't persuade her otherwise, so I had no choice but to agree. But who would have thought that on the day of my performance, she secretly smeared ultra-spicy chili powder on my underwear. There I was, dancing on stage, my movements becoming twisted and contorted in agony, constantly tugging at my underwear to relieve the discomfort. In the end, I could only run off the stage in tears, my face bright red, because of this incident. I became instantly famous, earning the nickname Underwear Girl and enduring endless ridicule. When I went to confront her, she curled her lips into a smirk and said, "Oh dear, didn't you say you love eating spicy food? I thought this little bit of chili powder would be nothing to you. Just wanted to add some excitement to your dance. Don't be mad." I was shaking with anger and wanted to report her to the dorm advisor, but my other two roommates stopped me, saying I was being too petty and that it would ruin the harmony of our dorm. But later, when the dorm supervisor came for inspection, Zhao Shaoqin placed a fake pregnancy report on my bed, leading to misunderstandings and turning me into a despised slut everyone condemned. Furious, I fought with her but was overpowered and shoved into the dormitory toilet. At just 6 meters tall and frail, I was no match for her strength honed from daily farm work. In the end, she held me down in the toilet until I drowned. "What are you staring at? Why aren't you drinking?" Zhao Shaoqin gently patted my hand, her tone urgent, but out of the corner of my eye, I caught a fleeting evil smile at the corner of her lips. Coming back to my senses, I took the water cup and raised it, pretending to pour it into my mouth. Watching her grin so wide her mouth couldn't close, I seized the moment, suddenly lifting her chin forcefully, then poured the entire cup of water down her throat in one swift motion. The agonized scream immediately echoed across the entire playground. "Xia Mingxue, what do you think you're doing?" Zhao Shaoqin, her face streaked with tears, stomped her feet and shouted angrily at me. I shrugged my shoulders and said calmly, "You said you were thirsty, didn't you? I was just kind enough to give you my water to drink. Why are you making such a big fuss? It's not like I poisoned the cup. Besides, Haven't you always been praising how nice my thermos looks? You even asked if the water from this cup tastes extra sweet, so I just let you try it. You should be thanking me instead." Hearing my words, Zhao Xiaoqin trembled with anger. Of course, she didn't dare to ask me directly why there was hot water in the cup, because when we left today, everyone poured cold water together in the dorm. Zhao Xiaoqin could only admit her bad luck. But the pain in her throat made it hard for her to swallow her anger, so she glared at me fiercely, raising her arm as if to teach me a lesson. But the next second, sweat mixed with tears slid down her face. Her arm, suspended midair, also dropped from the pain. Her expression twisted in agony as she pointed at her throat and whimpered, "It hurts so much. Help me, my throat, it's burned. Quick, take me to the hospital." After saying this, his face turned red with suffocation as he rolled on the ground. It seemed he was having trouble breathing. In my previous life, just one big gulp of boiling water was enough to make me writhe in unbearable pain. This time, I forced myself to swallow the entire cup of scalding water, though much of it spilled. Her throat must now be covered in blisters, mimicking her actions from the past life. I proactively asked the instructor for leave and took her to the school infirmary. At the campus clinic, the doctor opened her mouth and shone a light inside, then asked with a shocked expression, "My God, how did you manage to get yourself into this state?" Zhao Xiaoqin sobbed, trying to speak, but I cut in first and explained, "I don't know what happened either. She turned like this after drinking a glass of cold water." The doctor immediately retorted, "Impossible, how could cold water cause burns? These are clearly from drinking a large cup of boiling water, hot water no less than 95 degrees Celsius. I pretended to look at her incredulously and questioned, "Xiaoqin, I clearly poured cold water into my cup. How did it turn into hot water in your hands?" Zhao Xiaoqin, knowing she was in the wrong, stopped responding to me. She just desperately grabbed the doctor's hand, pointing at her throat and hoarsely saying, "Ouch, that hurts." After returning to the dorm, roommates Su Xinqing and Wang Jili also came back after finishing their morning military training. I pressed Zhao Xiaoqin onto the chair and thoughtfully took out Kingfuxin liquid, ready to pour it into her mouth, but she violently shook off my hand, hoarsely shouting in agitation, "You little bitch, it's all your fault. If it weren't for you." I blinked my eyes innocently and asked, "Xiaoqin, why would you say such things about me? How could I possibly harm you?" Zhao Xiaoqin roared like a lion, slamming the thermos cup on the ground and glaring as she demanded, Did you already know there was hot water inside?" "So," I feigned surprise with an exaggerated "ah." Then I fired back, "This morning when we left, we both fetched cold water from the dorm together. Don't you remember?" "I'm also curious. Clearly, my cup had cold water in it, so how did it turn into hot water when it reached your hands?" Seeing her hesitate to speak, I suddenly changed the subject and sighed. "Luckily it was you who drank it. If it had been me, my throat would have been scalded raw." Seeing my gloating expression, Zhao Xiaoqin was hopping mad. She grabbed a chair from the dormitory and tried to hurl it at me, but was stopped by two roommates. Roommate Su Xinqing shot her a glance and rolled her eyes, saying, "Zhao Xiaoqin, don't think everyone's too stupid to know what you did. You secretly swapped Xia Mingshua's cold water and ended up suffering the consequences yourself. Serves you right. You'll just have to accept your bad luck on this matter, otherwise if it escalates to the counselor, you might face even harsher punishment." Wang Jili also chimed in, "Exactly, you did something wrong and got what you deserved, and now you want to hit people. Isn't this just school bullying?" Zhao Xiaoqin was stunned. She never expected her two roommates, who usually sided with her, would actually speak up for me, so she abruptly changed her previously tough attitude, immediately covering her face and crying, "Woo-woo. I'm just a country girl who hasn't seen much of the world. This cup is so fancy. I thought it had cooling functions. I was just joking." Right at that moment, my errand runner arrived. In front of Zhao Xiaoqin, I handed the two Starbucks thermoses to my roommates. "Thank you for speaking up for justice. Here's a small gift. I hope you like it. Tonight, I'm treating you to hot pot." The two roommates immediately cheered. "Wow. These cups are absolutely gorgeous. Little rich girl, so generous. Let's go, hot pot tonight." See, human nature simply can't withstand such tests. In the face of profit, what's the worth of cliquish, fake friendships? Moreover, everyone had only known each other for a few days. If I hadn't told my two roommates in advance that I had prepared gifts for them and planned to treat them to a movie over the weekend, they probably wouldn't have sided with me, let alone stopped Zhao Xiaoqin from assaulting me. In my previous life, Zhao Xiaoqin had already prejudiced them against me, portraying me as a wealthy girl who loved to flaunt her riches and show off. She also exploited her identity as a financially disadvantaged student to cast herself as an honest person constantly bullied by others, so when Zhao Xiaoqin targeted me at every turn, my two roommates would muddle along, saying she was just joking and that I shouldn't be so petty. In the end, When Zhao Xiaoqin and I got into a physical fight, they chose to stand by indifferently, watching as she drowned me in the dormitory toilet without lifting a finger. So this time on the way to the school hospital, I created a separate group chat and said to them, "Babes, I have gifts for you all later. There's a blockbuster coming out this weekend. Can I treat you two to a movie? I usually love eating out and exploring, but I lack companions, if you're willing. I can treat you often in the future. Also, my dad knows our university president. If you ever need help with scholarship applications or grad school recommendations, just let me know. I'll do whatever I can to help." As expected, the two roommates immediately exclaimed excitedly, "Great, great, having a little rich girl in our dorm is really nice. From now on, we're good sisters, sharing both joys and sorrows. With us around, let's see who dares to bully our dear Mingxue." Money is truly a wonderful thing. I couldn't help but sigh, realizing how foolish my past self had been. When I could have easily won people over with money, I kept putting myself at a disadvantage, ultimately meeting a tragic end. Gazing at the scene before me, Zhao Xiaoqin gritted her teeth in silent fury, but could only climb into bed angrily and pull her curtain shut. After my two roommates and I became close sisters, without her accomplices, Zhao Xiaoqin no longer dared to act recklessly or make inappropriate jokes, yet the flames of vengeance continued to smolder within her. She had been looking for an opportunity all along. Soon, it was the day of the welcome party. Just like in the previous life, before the party started, I took a shower in the dormitory first. While I was taking a shower, Zhao Xiaoqin secretly sprinkled chili powder on my underwear. Only this time, she was even more ruthless and had hidden a fine needle in it. After seeing me finish my shower and change into new underwear and a skirt, Zhao Xiaoqin finally feigned satisfaction and praised me insincerely. "Mingxue, your dress is absolutely beautiful. Best of luck with your dance performance tonight." I patted her shoulder and complimented, "Thank you. Don't you have a performance tonight too? A flute solo, right? I'm really looking forward to it." Zhao Xiaoqin curled her lip and rolled her eyes, saying, "This is intangible cultural heritage. A craft passed down from my grandfather's generation. It's not like your flashy, coquettish dancing." Upon hearing this, Su Xinqing immediately stepped forward and scolded loudly, "Zhao Xiaoqin, watch your mouth. What do you mean by coquettish dancing? That's a proper traditional Chinese dance." Zhao Xiaoqin sneered and shoved her aside forcefully. Then came the insults. "What a fine dog you are, but even a good dog shouldn't block the way. Surely you understand that." The tension between them was palpable, looking like they were about to come to blows. I quickly grabbed Su Xinqing's arm and tried to mediate. "All right, the party is about to start. Let's hurry over." Su Xinqing finally glared at her fiercely before leaving with me. Before heading out, I glanced at the flute on Zhao Xiaoqin's desk and couldn't suppress my excitement. The welcome party began. I stepped onto the stage with effortless grace and smoothly completed the entire performance. Instead of embarrassing myself, I earned thunderous applause from the audience with my flawless dance moves. Zhao Xiaoqin's face turned even purpler than liver, her lips trembling uncontrollably with rage. Soon, it was Zhao Xiaoqin's turn to take the stage. I deliberately walked behind the stage and gave her a heart-shaped gesture of encouragement. "Xiaoqin, perform well, with your skills. Winning first place is definitely no problem." Zhao Xiaoqin glared at me and quickly stepped onto the stage. I hurried to the audience seats, waiting for the upcoming show to begin. "Now, let's welcome classmate Zhao Xiaoqin for her flute solo. The song she will perform today is The Girl from the South Sea. Please give her a round of applause." After the host's introduction, Zhao Xiaoqin took a deep breath and began her performance. But the moment she put the bamboo flute to her lips and started to play, her face immediately contorted in extreme distress, her lips trembling uncontrollably, producing a mournful wailing sound of woo-woo-woo. The audience burst into laughter. "LOL, what kind of performance is this? Is this supposed to be a comedy act? What intangible cultural heritage inheritor? The audacity." The host quickly tried to smooth things over. "Everyone please stay quiet. Zhao Xiaoqin was just joking with everyone earlier. The real performance is about to begin." Looking at the eager anticipation in everyone's eyes, Zhao Xiaoqin was now in a situation where she couldn't back down. This was her family's ancestral bamboo flute. She had told everyone she was an inheritor of intangible cultural heritage, and this was her best chance to make a name for herself at school. At this thought, even though Zhao Xiaoqin's mouth was burning, she clenched her teeth and mustered all her strength to control her lips. But the next second, Zhao Xiaoqin screamed and threw the flute onto the stage. "There are bugs. My flute has bugs. So many bugs. It's terrifying." I picked up the flute from the ground and quickly took out a bug spray from my pocket, secretly spraying it on. Instantly, countless tiny insects poured out from the cracks of the flute. Fortunately, it was nighttime, and only faint light illuminated the stage below. So no one noticed this action. After cleaning up, I raised the flute and loudly announced, "Zhao Shaoqin, your flute is here." With that, he handed it to her. Zhao Shaoqin took a few fearful steps back, then shouted at me at the top of her voice, "Xiaomingshui, it was you, wasn't it? You bitch, you filled my flute with bugs, didn't you?" Feigning surprise, I said, "Shaoqin, what are you talking about? What bug? Where is there a bug? I think you might be too nervous, not in a good mental state." And hallucinating. Seeing this, the host took the flute and examined it carefully over and over, then somewhat awkwardly tried to smooth things over. Student Zhao Shaoqin, today's joke seems to have gone a bit too far. I wonder if this is an Easter egg you specifically planted. Zhao Shaoqin didn't respond to his remark. Instead, she slapped the flute away and shouted angrily, "Impossible. This flute is full of densely packed bugs inside. Don't even think about fooling me." Then she snatched the microphone from the host's hand and yelled at me furiously, "Xiaomingshui, you venomous viper-hearted witch, how dare you devise such a malicious trick to harm me? Do you dare admit that you filled my flute with insects, ruining my performance today?" After speaking, she turned her head and sobbed to the counselor seated in the audience. "Teacher Wang, Xiaomingshui framed her classmate. Her conduct is despicable. You must expel her immediately." Two roommates immediately stood up to defend me, saying, "It's impossible, Xiaomingshui would never do such a thing. There aren't any bugs in this flute at all. It's completely clean." At this point, even the counselor's face showed an impatient expression, wishing they could crawl into a hole, and could only say coldly, "Come down first, we can talk about this privately later." But Zhao Shaoqin refused to comply, insisting on settling the matter right then and there. "No. If we don't punish Xiaomingshui now, she'll never admit to it later." Left with no choice, the counselor had to arrange for a few male students to go on stage and forcibly pull her down. After returning to the dormitory, Zhao Shaoqin went berserk and smashed my desk. She grabbed my collar and shouted angrily, "Xiaomingshui, why do you insist on making things difficult for me? Why did you smear capsaicin on my flute and fill it with bugs? You know perfectly well how terrified I am of bugs." I calmly pushed her hand away and sneered coldly, "Shaoqin, what nonsense are you talking about? I never did any of that. Everyone at the scene saw it. There were no bugs in your flute. I suggest you get your eyes checked." But Zhao Shaoqin pulled out a packet of dead bugs wrapped in tissue paper from her pocket, threw it in my face, and roared, "You poisonous woman, I couldn't possibly be mistaken. It must be you who disposed of these bugs after getting the flute." Luckily, I kept my wits about me and found this evidence in the trash can. Now that all the evidence is here, how do you plan to deny it? You're coming with me to the counselor right now to admit your mistake and compensate me with 50,000 yuan for emotional distress. Otherwise, you can just drop out. Hilarious. Zhao Shaoqin really thinks she's somebody, as if I'd drop out just because she tells me to, trying to extort money from me. Not a chance. So I took out my phone with the video and waved it in front of her. "Zhao Shaoqin, I've got footage of you smearing chili powder and hiding needles in my underwear. Who's the vicious one here? Should I take this video to our advisor? Or if I accidentally post it online, you might just go viral. Now I have video evidence, while all you've got is a bag of dead bugs. Who do you think the counselor will believe, you or me?" Seeing that I had produced proof, Zhao Shaoqin panicked and tried to snatch my phone, but I dodged her grasp. Furious, she lashed out at me. "So you knew all along that I tampered with your underwear, and this is your revenge, isn't it? That's not right. I definitely peeked when you changed into your dance skirt. You were wearing that champagne-colored Chanel underwear. I couldn't help but scoff, because I bought two identical pairs of underwear. The one you sprinkled chili powder on, I threw it in the trash long ago." Hearing this, Zhao Shaoqin stood frozen in place for a full several minutes. After a long while, she snapped out of it and glared at me fiercely. "You're fucking loaded, aren't you? I was just joking with you. Was it really necessary to get back at me like this?" I shrugged my shoulders and laughed. "I was just joking with you too. Why are you getting so worked up?" After suffering another setback from me, Zhao Shaoqin's hatred towards me reached its peak. At midnight, she secretly got out of bed and went to the dormitory hallway to make a phone call. I quickly followed her, only to hear her command the person on the other end of the line, "Zhang Chang, didn't you say you'd do anything for me? Well, there's something I need your help with right now. There's this little slut in our dorm who keeps bullying me. If you help me get her pregnant, I'll agree to be your girlfriend. Don't worry. I'll spike her drink when the time comes. Just follow my arrangements. After it's done, I'll bring our dorm supervisor to catch you two in the act. You must insist she seduced you." After secretly filming all of this, I quickly returned to bed. By the time Zhao Shaoqin returned to the dormitory, I was deliberately snoring loudly. The next morning, as soon as I woke up, Zhao Shaoqin held two large steamed buns with a fawning smile and said to me, "Here, I know you love leek and egg buns the most. I went to the cafeteria early this morning just to buy them for you. Eat them while they're still hot. Seeing me staring at her with confusion, Zhao Xiaoqin tugged at my arm and cooed, Mingxue, I know I used to like joking around and did many excessive things, which led to our relationship breaking down like this. Last night, I couldn't sleep at all, thinking that we're all good sisters sharing the same dorm. It shouldn't have escalated to seem like there's some deep-seated hatred just because of a few jokes. Can we just pretend these things never happened? Can we go back to being good sisters again? Before I could even open my mouth to respond, Su Xinqing sneered from the side. Well, a weasel giving New Year's greetings to a chicken harbors no good intentions. Wang Jili rubbed her just-opened eyes and advised me, Mingxue, you absolutely mustn't believe her nonsense. After she framed you like that before, how could she suddenly turn good? She definitely has ulterior motives. Of course, I knew exactly what she was scheming, but if I don't comply with her, how can I smoothly carry out my plan? So I patted my two roommates on the shoulder and said with a smile, hey, we're all in the same dorm. Since Xiaoqin took the initiative to apologize to me, let's just let bygones be bygones. There's no need to hold on to grudges. Besides, we still have 4 years of university ahead. If we don't reconcile, are we going to keep guarding against each other like this? How exhausting would that be? Su Xinqing and Wang Jili exchanged glances and then tacitly fell silent. After all, in their eyes, I'm now their wealthy benefactor, and they wouldn't dare offend me lightly. Seeing my attitude soften, Zhao Xiaoqin excitedly grabbed my hand. That's great, I knew you weren't that petty. As expected of a young lady from a wealthy family, your magnanimity is truly different. From now on, we're good sisters. We'll be the 4 golden flowers and definitely make a splash at school. To celebrate us becoming true sisters today, I've decided to treat everyone to hot pot tonight. You all must honor me with your presence. Although the two roommates harbored resentment toward her, they reluctantly replied, all right. Zhao Xiaoqin skipped her afternoon class. I knew she was going to make preparations in advance. I found out that the dorm supervisor would be conducting a room check tonight, so Zhao Xiaoqin seized this opportunity, wanting to nail me to the pillar of shame, making me endure scorn and insults just like in my previous life. However, in this life, she was even more vicious. She actually wanted to hire someone to assault me. I quickly sent a message to my parents, asking them to arrange a female bodyguard for me. Someone who could blend into the school and protect me at all times. After class, when I returned to the dormitory, as soon as I opened the dormitory door, I smelled the aroma of hot pot. Zhao Xiaoqin said to us excitedly, ding dong dong, everything is ready, so don't stand on ceremony and eat to your heart's content. Looking at the small dormitory table covered with frozen meat rolls, vegetables, and a large bottle of drink, Su Xinqing pinched her nose with a look of disdain and said, oh my god. This is what you meant by treating us to hot pot. Had I known, I would have just eaten at the cafeteria. Wang Jili also frowned disapprovingly and said, you're way too casual about this. When Mingxue treated us to hot pot, it was always hey de Leo. Zhao Xiaoqin's face flushed crimson as she deliberately feigned grievance. I'm from a poor family. Naturally I can't compare to Mingxue. My monthly living allowance is only 500 yuan, and preparing this meal has already cost me 100 yuan. I'll have to survive on steamed buns for a week just to make it through this month. If you really find it unacceptable, then I'll just eat all of this by myself. With that, she covered her face and began sobbing pitifully. I stepped forward and put my arm around her shoulders, quickly comforting her. How could that be? You were so thoughtful to skip class and come back just to help us with the hot pot. How could we ever dislike you? Xinqing and Jili just speak without thinking. Don't take their words to heart. Seeing that I didn't dislike her, she even proactively picked up a piece of greens and placed it in my bowl. Su Xinqing and Wang Jili didn't want to embarrass me, so they reluctantly sat down. Zhao Xiaoqin finally wiped her tears and blinked at me with a smile, saying, Mingxue, I knew you were the best, the kindest. Come on, eat while it's hot. With that, she placed a slice of fatty beef roll into each of our bowls. Seeing us frozen without picking up our chopsticks, Zhao Xiaoqin quickly picked up a piece and put it in her own mouth. Then she poured everyone a glass of beverage, but only poured herself a glass of plain water. I glanced at the table. The likelihood of her drugging the food was slim, since she had eaten some herself, so the only possibility is that someone tampered with the drink. I pointed at her water glass and asked knowingly, Xiaoqin, why aren't you drinking? Can't bear to finish it. We can just drink a little. Zhao Xiaoqin touched her stomach and explained with a smile, I'm about to get my period, so I can't drink anything cold. You guys go ahead, I'll just have some plain water. I quickly stood up and said, that won't do. I'll go buy you a room temperature drink right now. Seeing that I was about to leave, Zhao Xiaoqin took the opportunity to stand up and pointed at Su Xinqing. suggesting, "Xinqing, why don't you and Jelly go together? I happen to have some things I'd like to say to Mingxue privately." Su Xinqing initially wanted to refuse because she disliked Zhao Shaoqin ordering her around, but Wang Jelly, standing beside her, nudged her shoulder and glanced meaningfully at the table full of dishes. She barely suppressed her inner anger, pouting as she walked out of the dormitory. Now only the two of us remained in the dorm. Zhao Shaoqin raised her cup and bowed deeply toward me. "Mingxue, I offer you this water in place of wine as an apology. I hope you can forgive me for my past actions. You know how it is. Coming from the countryside, I've never seen much of the world, so I couldn't help feeling a bit jealous. I took the joke too far, but I swear, from now on I'll never make inappropriate jokes again, or may I be hit by a car the moment I step outside." She looked so earnest, her face full of remorse. Had I not overheard with my own ears what she was planning to do to me next, I might have actually fallen for this solemn oath of hers. At this thought, I quickly raised my glass and smiled slightly. "Let's forget about the past, our future is still long." Seeing me down the entire drink in one gulp, a faint smile of triumph flashed in Zhao Shaoqin's eyes. At that very moment, someone knocked on the door. Zhao Shaoqin quickly opened the door and let the person in. Good heavens! Was this man before her eyes, wearing a wig and dressed as a woman, the Zhang Chang she had mentioned? I pretended to be dazed and asked with wide eyes, "Shaoqin, who is this person? Doesn't seem to be from our dorm." Zhao Shaoqin poured me another glass of the drink and handed it to me. "This is my sister, she came to visit me in the dorm. Don't be afraid." I deliberately waved my hand and refused. "No more, I feel so dizzy. My whole body has no strength." Seeing that I persistently refused to drink another glass, after Zhao Shaoqin exchanged glances with Zhang Chang then took off his wig, forcibly pried open my mouth, and poured the drink down my throat. I widened my eyes and cried out, "Who are you? What do you want?" Zhang Chang smirked maliciously and said, "I'm your brother Chang, here to give you a good time." With that, he stood up to carry me to the bed. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. Li Fei! The female bodyguard arranged by my father swiftly kicked Zhang Chang to the ground. Zhao Shaoqin widened her eyes in fear and said, "Why you? Who are you? How did you get into our dorm?" I slowly raised my head and smiled. "Isn't it obvious? Of course I gave her the dorm key in advance." Zhao Shaoqin took a frightened step backward. "You're not unconscious. You were pretending. So you knew all along that I'd drugged this drink." Then she shook her head and muttered to herself, "It's impossible, impossible, you couldn't have known all this beforehand." Watching Zhang Chang pant heavily as he struggled to get up from the ground, I knew the drug's effects were about to kick in, so I couldn't be bothered to argue with her anymore. I poured the remaining drink down her throat and locked the dormitory door. After leaving the dormitory, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I had taken the antidote in advance, otherwise the consequences would have been unimaginable. Li Fei patted me on the back reassuringly. "It's okay, it's all over now." I nodded. 2 hours later, Su Xinqing and Wang Jelly finally returned leisurely carrying a bottle of cola. Seeing the dormitory door closed, they asked with puzzled expressions, "Mingxue, why are you standing at the dormitory door? Why don't you go in?" I made a shushing gesture at them with a helpless expression. "Keep your voices down. Xiaoqin's boyfriend came to see her, and I don't know what they're doing inside." They kicked me out of the dorm and still haven't opened the door. Upon hearing this, the two covered their mouths in disbelief. Then Su Xinqing knocked on the door, but there was no response from inside. I pretended to look anxious and said, "Why is there no sound? Could they be arguing? Do you think Xiaoqin might be in danger? Should we call the police right away?" Wang Jilly sneered and said, "What can a lone man and woman do locked in a dorm room? It's not just about that between men and women, but it's too disgusting. They're actually fooling around in our dorm. No, I have to go find the counselor. I just saw her checking rooms on the first floor. She should have the dorm keys." Su Xinqing smirked mischievously upon hearing this. "Exactly, no need to call the police. Just have the counselor get the spare key from the dorm supervisor to open the door." With that, the two hurriedly rushed downstairs. 10 minutes later, the counselor arrived with the dormitory administrator, followed by a large crowd of curious classmates. After knocking several times without getting a response, the dormitory supervisor had no choice but to open the door. The moment the dormitory door was opened, everyone was stunned. Zhao Shaoqin and a strange man were lying naked on the bed. The two were even snoring intermittently, appearing to be sleeping very soundly. Witnessing the scene before her, the counselor was furious. She picked up the blanket from the floor and threw it at them, shouting angrily, "Zhao Shaoqin, get up right now." Seeing that she still showed no reaction, the counselor was so angry that she fetched a basin of cold water and splashed it on them. It wasn't until this moment that Zhao Shaoqin finally came to her senses completely, but it was already too late. The scene that had happened to me in my previous life was now playing out on her. Everyone around was looking at me with strange eyes. Zhao Shaoqin quickly burst into tears and said, "Teacher Wang, I was forced. Please help me call the police and have this man arrested. I don't know him at all. He sneaked into our dormitory and assaulted me. I'm the victim." Just as Zhang Cheng opened his eyes, he heard Zhao Shaoqin threatening to call the police and have him arrested. He frantically grabbed her by the neck and cursed, "You little bitch. It was you who told me to sneak into your dorm and defile Xiaoming Xue. How was I supposed to know you'd end up staying in the dorm yourself? You orchestrated all of this behind the scenes. Why are you pushing all the blame onto me?" In the end, it was the police who arrived and separated the two who were wrestling. At the police station, I presented all the videos and recordings. The drugged drink was also sent for testing. In the end, Wang Chang was sentenced to 7 years in prison for the crime of intentional rape. Zhao Shaoqin became a social pariah because of this incident, even being spat on while walking on campus. No one knows who leaked her personal information online. She kept receiving messages asking for dates, and even her family and friends back home were bombarded with harassing messages. In the end, Zhao Shaoqin became so depressed that she slammed her head against the wall and died in the dormitory bathroom. As for me, I moved to a new dormitory and started a new life. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In 1988, my husband's family didn't receive the factory's welfare housing allocation. I was called a fool by my in-laws for the rest of my life, and my son resented me too, refusing to call me mom ever again, because I was the one who broke the factory machine, which cost us the housing allocation quota. But after my husband passed away, while sorting through his belongings, I accidentally found his diary. It turned out he pitted his first love for having no stable home and voluntarily transferred the welfare housing quota to her. Afraid that his parents and son would resent him and not wanting to disappoint them, he deliberately framed me for the mistake and pinned the blame on me. A lifetime misplaced. I was overwhelmed with rage and died with bitter resentment. Opening my eyes again, I found myself back at the time when factory housing was being allocated. Grabbing my husband by the collar, I stormed into the supervisor's office and caused a scene. Is it Qingxia, this fool, who cost the Shen family our welfare housing? She's nothing but a jinx, always dragging Shen Wenqian down. Tisk tsk. How does she even have the nerve to return to the Shen family? Such thick skin. Harsh accusations flooded my ears one after another. Remembering the truth, I indignantly opened my mouth to retort. Looking up, I saw the mocking faces of my coworkers at the textile factory who had always been at odds with me, and I froze on the spot. How can they be so young, you idiot? My son marrying you is the worst luck in 8 lifetimes. A basin of vegetable washing water was thrown at me, the rotten and foul-smelling leaves sticking to my face. It was my mother-in-law. But didn't she die over a decade ago? Could it be? I've been reborn. I actually went back to 1988, when the textile factory was giving out welfare housing to employees for free. In my previous life, before the housing allocation, Shen Wenqian came to the workshop to bring me lunch, and we ate together. After he left, the machine under my responsibility inexplicably broke down. The machine was newly purchased by the factory at a high cost, and it was said that a large sum of money was spent on repairs. A few days later, Shen Wenqian told me dejectedly that director who had informed him that due to my negligence, we wouldn't be allocated the welfare housing this time. A large 3-bedroom apartment, gone, just because I broke the machine. I wanted to go ask director who for a clear explanation, but Shen Wenqian absolutely wouldn't let me, saying it would just make me a laughingstock for everyone. Later, other families moved into big houses, while our family had to keep squeezing into a tiny rented place. After that, my in-laws completely gave up, stopped working, and would scold or hit me at the slightest provocation, calling me a fool for the rest of my life. My son also resented me for losing the house. He couldn't get a wife because of it, and never gave me a kind look. He even stopped calling me mom. I felt guilty and remorseful, too ashamed to argue, silently enduring everything with a hunched back and lowered head, never standing tall again for the rest of my life. Walked past, relatives, friends, and even colleagues would use my foolish deeds to teach their children. Even couples fighting would bring me up. You should thank your lucky stars I'm not as stupid as Qingxia, who lost the house. Upon hearing this, the man would admit his mistake. You're right, no matter how foolish you are, our family's house has been allocated. Living in such a stifling environment, I grew increasingly silent. 40 years later, Shen Wenqian passed away. Suppressing my grief while sorting through his belongings, I instinctively opened his diary upon seeing it. April 7, 1988, sunny. Chushua finally agreed to accept the welfare housing today. June 18, 1988, rainy. The welfare housing was successfully transferred to Chushua. I hope she won't have to live in fear anymore. But I couldn't bear to disappoint my parents or let my son resent me, so I had no choice but to scheme against Qingxia, making her take the blame. Well, from now on, I'll protect her, at least I won't let her life be too hard. Snap, the diary fell to the ground, followed closely by my tears. It turns out that Lin Chuxue, the new female worker at the textile factory, was Shen Wenqian's first love. Back then, the Lin family demanded a bride price of 200 yuan, which he couldn't afford, and could only watch heartbroken as Lin Chuxue married someone else. In her middle age, Lin Chuxue's husband passed away unexpectedly, leaving her and their daughter behind. Her in-laws blamed her for bringing misfortune upon their son and resented her for not bearing a male heir, forcing the mother and daughter were driven out of the house. Upon hearing the news, Shen Wenqian immediately arranged for her to work as a temporary laborer at the steel plant. Later, he pulled strings and paid bribes to secure her permanent position. He was always worried that Lin Chuxue and her daughter living in a rented house wasn't safe, so before the housing allocation, he deliberately came to have dinner with me and took the opportunity to sabotage the machine, shifting the blame onto me, voluntarily transferring the welfare housing to Lin Chuxue. I'm so filled with hatred. If he wants to fulfill Lin Chuxue's wishes, why must I be sacrificed? Then what does my entire life amount to? Overwhelmed with rage, I died with a heart full of resentment. Never thought I'd get a second chance. I grabbed Shen Wenqian's hand. Come on, let's go find Director Hu. Just one machine malfunctioning. How could that cost me my housing allocation? I refuse to accept this. Shen Wenqian's expression suddenly changed as he grabbed me and earnestly advised, Xia, calm down. The list has already been posted, and making a scene won't help. If anyone could just make a fuss when they're unhappy, the factory would descend into chaos. What's done is done, and I don't blame you. He softened his tone. Next time housing is allocated, we'll just have to try harder. In my past life, it was this very mouth, on the left saying I don't blame you, on the right saying I don't resent you, yet when my in-laws hurled abuse at me, he sat there eating and drinking without uttering a word. When our son complained about me, he never once scolded him either. Next time we divide rooms, no, there won't be a next time. In my past life, I kept hoping for the next housing allocation to make up for this mistake, but contrary to expectations, the next allocation never came, and the textile factory went bankrupt within just a few years. After the factory's closure, the site was bought by wealthy businessmen, leaving only the welfare housing to the employees. We don't have welfare housing, so we had to leave the textile factory and spend money renting a place. The family's financial situation worsened again. My in-laws, son, and Shen Wenqian treated me even more harshly. The machine was bought less than 3 months ago, still under warranty. The seller provides free repairs, yet they still want to seize my house. Is there no justice left? Got it. Besides, it's bad enough that we've lost our house, but why should Lin Chuxue get it? She hasn't even been in the factory for 3 years yet, always bringing her burden along to loaf around, taking several days off every month. Wouldn't she feel guilty taking the house? I pointed at 2 of the bystanders who were particularly engrossed in the spectacle. If it were given to Brother Jing or Sister Yi, those senior employees, I wouldn't make a fuss. In my past life, Jing Aigua and Yi Mei didn't get allocated housing either, instead of confronting those who did. They kept coming to humiliate me. I refused to believe that now. With an excuse at hand, they wouldn't make a scene. Jing Aigua stroked his chin and refused to continue. That's right, let's go ask too. Come on, Qingxia, we'll go with you. If they got scolded, they could just shift the blame onto Qingxia. But what if they really managed to get their hands on an apartment? Jing Aigua and Yi Mei were clamoring to go find Director Hu. Slap. Caught off guard by the slap. My cheek burned with pain. I raised my hand to touch my nose, finding it covered in blood. Shen Wenqian withdrew his hand and shouted angrily with a lack of confidence, "What are you making a scene for? Isn't this embarrassing enough? Losing the house isn't enough. Do you want to lose your job too?" The suppressed rage inside me completely erupted. I rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a cleaver, and swung it at Shen Wenqian. He dodged quickly, only losing a small piece of flesh from his ear. Shen Wenqian took out a tissue from his pocket to press on the wound, breaking down and yelling angrily, "Qingxia, what the hell is wrong with you?" Seeing Shen Wenqian injured, my mother-in-law charged at me with a kitchen knife. I raised my hand, knocking the kitchen knife to the ground with my cleaver, then continued advancing toward Shen Wenqian with the blade raised. My mother-in-law had initially plopped down on the ground, ready to throw a tantrum, but seeing my stance, she didn't dare. "Qingxia, that's your man," she screamed hoarsely, struggling to get up, trying to snatch the knife from my hand. My movements became even swifter. A sharp knife pressed against Shen Wenqian's neck, and with just a slight pressure, a thin line of blood appeared. "Don't come any closer. Believe me, I'll slit his throat. If I'm going down, none of you will get out unscathed." Kicking Shen Wenqian, "Move, we're going to find Director Hu." Textile factory office, Director Hu. Although the machine is broken, it was purchased less than 3 months ago and is still under warranty. Is it really necessary to deduct my housing allocation quota? Director Hu frowned deeply and looked at Shen Wenqian. What's going on? Shen Wenqian replied cautiously. Director Hu, it's nothing. Qingxia is just throwing a tantrum. I'll take her back right away. Director Hu gave a hum of acknowledgement and began criticizing me. Comrade Qingxia, your behavior today was truly excessive. It's only because of Wenqian that I won't argue with you. I quickly explained the whole story and demanded the return of my welfare housing quota. Director Hu pondered for a moment. I'll investigate this matter carefully, but the housing allocation list has already been submitted and can't be changed. If there really is any hidden issue that caused you to suffer losses, we'll give you priority consideration in the next housing allocation. Yes, yes. Thank you, Director Hu. Shen Wenqian nodded gratefully at Director Hu and pulled me away. We've asked all we needed to ask. Let's go home. This is so embarrassing. I sized up Director Hu, a thought quickly flashing through my mind. No wonder. Is that so? Since Director Hu can't handle it, then I'll have to go ask the factory manager. Director Hu's eyes instantly turned cold. Shen Wenqian immediately flew into a rage, pointing at me and shouting angrily, "Are you done yet? You're the one who messed up, and Director Hu kindly explained it to you, yet you're pushing your luck." I grabbed his hand, pressed it onto the table, and raised the cleaver high. Clang! The blade didn't hit flesh, only shaved off his fingernail. I raised the cleaver again. Shen Wenqian struggled while cursing loudly. Xing'Aigua and Yume were also frightened. Director Hu slammed the table angrily. "Qingxia, how can you be so unreasonable?" "Qingxia, that's enough. Director Hu has already said your family will be prioritized for housing allocation next time. What more do you want?" Yume said sourly, then flashed a sycophantic smile at Director Hu. Xing'Aigua followed closely behind, lavishing praise on Director Hu and telling me not to be so selfish. I raised the knife and cursed at them. In my past life, when I didn't get a share of the house, they had mocked me to my face. Then I turned to Director Hu. "A straight foot is not afraid of a crooked shoe. If you were fair and just, why would you be so afraid of me going to the factory director, even if I go today too? If I can't find the factory director today, I'll go tomorrow or the day after to get a clear answer. What exactly are the criteria for housing allocation?" "Shashajia, how could you slander Director Hu like this?" A gentle yet urgent voice drifted into the office. The next moment, Lin Chushua's beautiful face appeared before everyone. She gasped slightly, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at me disapprovingly. "Sister Shashia, the housing quota is now in my hands. If you want to make a scene, you should come to me. Why bother Director Hu? Aren't you just making things difficult for Director Hu? Is the task difficult?" Director Hu's eyes flashed with approval as he nodded satisfactorily. "Oh, then tell me, every day it's either your stomach hurts, your head hurts, or at worst your kid has something going on and you can't work. What's your excuse? What about the welfare housing? If I recall correctly, last month you also broke a machine, and the repair cost over 100 yuan. My machine broke down, but it's still under warranty, so the repair is free. How come my housing allocation quota is gone? And on top of that, when Qianshin's gone missing, and you're stepping in." Lin Chushua couldn't answer, shaking her head at me with tearful eyes. Then she indicated she didn't want to make things difficult for Director Hu. If I insisted on making trouble, she could give the apartment to me. Director Hu complained discontentedly. "Qingxia, last month the evaluation hadn't started yet. You broke the machine during the evaluation period. How can you compare with Lin? Is it the same as Comrade Chushua's?" Lin Chushua forced a smile. "Director Hu, it's all right. Let Sister Shashia have the apartment." Director Hu grasped her hand, praising incessantly. "Comrade Lin Chushua, you're truly broad-minded. Unlike," he glanced at me and snorted coldly. Shen Wenqian was moved to tears by Lin Chushua's actions and turned to scold me. "Look at your crazy behavior. Why can't you learn from Chushua's kindness and thoughtfulness? The welfare housing list has already been submitted. The house belongs to Chushua. Snow, you can't get something just by making a scene. Otherwise, how will the factory manage its employees in the future? Can't you be reasonable? I'm so angry it makes my heart ache." Lin Chushua was willing to return the housing quota, and Director Hu agreed, yet he refused. What, is he that heartbroken over Lin Chushua? These 20 years of marriage to him have truly been wasted. Anyway, I don't have a house, so I went to argue with the factory director. I've been an outstanding employee every year, yet I didn't get allocated a house. Does that make any sense? You, Shen Wenqian's chest heaved violently with anger. Lin Chushua grabbed his hand, and the two gazed at each other affectionately. Slap. Director Hu slammed his hand on the table and shooed me away. "Take the apartment. Take it. Go, go, go. Don't disturb me from doing real work in the office. Today was the housing allocation." I drew the corner unit on the third floor, south-north facing, excellent lighting, and even an extra utility balcony compared to other layouts, the absolute best apartment. I returned home happily, but before I could even step inside, I heard my mother-in-law's piercing voice. It's all thanks to Wenqian's skills. Originally, we wouldn't have been allocated welfare housing, but he has a good relationship with Director Hu. Just one visit to the office, and the quota was secured. It's mine now. She stood with her hands on her hips. It's not that I'm just praising him as his mother, but he really does things reliably. When he went to see Director Hu, he didn't bring any wine or cigarettes, but Director Hu valued him highly and got things done without hesitation. The relatives in the living room were taking turns flattering her with insincere praise. My mother-in-law was absolutely delighted. When she saw me enter, she gave me a sidelong glance and ignored me completely, continuing to address the relatives. Come on, let's move the stuff to the new house and show you all the big place. Several people cheerfully carried furniture toward their new home. Oh, you want to live in the new home I fought for? Dream on. 20 minutes later, the mother-in-law came back angrily. Qingxia, that house was allocated to Wenqian. How dare you rent it out without permission? Shen Wenqian also looked grim and said coldly, what exactly are you trying to stir up? If the house is rented out, where are we supposed to live? I shrugged. That's my own house. What's it got to do with you? You can live wherever you want. Director Who made a mistake with the list earlier and accidentally gave the house to Lin Chuxue. Now it's been returned to me. It's mine alone. The housing allocation list doesn't have your name on it. If you want a house, go ask Director Who yourself. Applying for housing requires submitting a written application. When I wrote mine, Shen Wenqian was busy comforting Lin Chuxue and didn't even come to sign it. My mother-in-law shoved me out the door. You wasteful wretch, go get the house back. I'm not going. If you want to, go ahead. 2 hours later, they returned with swollen heads and bruised faces. My mother-in-law, looking half dead, leaned on Shen Wenqian, her voice hoarse from shouting. I smiled with satisfaction. The Su family was actually the tenant I had carefully selected. Their ability to handle conflicts is top-notch, so I'm not worried at all about Shen Wenqian and my mother-in-law causing trouble. After I entered the room, I heard my mother-in-law making a fuss about going to Director Hu to demand an explanation, stopped by Shen Wenqian. Mom, I have a way to deal with Qingxia. He bent down and whispered something into the old lady's ear. The old lady's smile grew wider and wider as she glanced sinisterly at the room. That's exactly how she should be treated. The next day after work, the house was lively. Surprisingly, my mom was there. I had just entered the house when she came over, showering me with warm greetings and concern. Go ahead, what is it? This mother of mine never visits without a reason. Mom chuckled awkwardly. Mom just said it straight out. Go and kick the Su family out. How can we let strangers live in our new house? I remained expressionless. Why not? Even if it's bad luck. It's bad luck for me. Mom's face instantly darkened. You're so fierce. You've ruined our family's reputation. How will your sister ever remarry? Hearing this, the last glimmer of hope in my heart vanished into thin air. Sister, Qingro will always be the most important. Memories from my past life flooded my mind. Back then, I truly believed it was my fault for breaking the factory machine, which cost us the welfare housing allocation. At my in-laws' place, I was filled with self-blame and guilt, constantly rushing to get the work done, not daring to take a break. Yet even so, my mother-in-law still couldn't stand me. On New Year's Eve, she deliberately picked a fight, threw a basin of cold water on me, and kicked me out of the house door. In the bitter cold of winter, heavy snowflakes were falling outside, and I was soaked to the skin, shivering uncontrollably. I trudged back to the village, hungry and cold, knocking on my parents' door with difficulty, but when Mom opened the door and saw it was me, she immediately shut it again. A married daughter shouldn't return to her parents' home for New Year's. It brings terrible misfortune. Are you deliberately trying to curse us? Yet I clearly remember when Qingro quarreled with her husband, Mom specially went to bring her back for New Year's. Snowflakes fluttered as I dragged my frozen body back into the city, having spent the entire night freezing outside the door. That night left me with lifelong ailments. Whenever the wind blows or rain falls, my bones ache as if pierced by needles. All right, Mom knows you're the most obedient. Mother pretended to be gentle. You only have one sister. Do you really want to ruin her chances of marriage? I looked straight at her. Is this my mother-in-law promising to introduce Qingro to someone from the city? Why are you looking at me like that? Whatever Mom does, isn't it all for you two sisters? She began recounting all the things she had done for me over the years. That's impossible. Whatever deal you've made has nothing to do with me. My mother sprang to her feet. Since when do you talk back? As she spoke, she raised her hand to hit me. Hitting me had become second nature to her. When I was little and hadn't started earning money yet, she hit me even harder. Only when I grew up and gave her money would she praise me with a few kind words. But Qingro is different. She couldn't bear to let her suffer the slightest grievance. It's as if I were a ruined main account, while Qingro is her carefully nurtured alt account. Talking back, "What do you know? You know nothing," I screamed back hysterically. "We're both daughters. So why are you so harsh on me? Do I have to endure everything? Do I have to give in to everything? I don't want to endure anymore, nor do I want to give in." I exposed Chen Wenqian and Lin Chushua's affair. Mom's expression froze, and after a moment, she began to persuade me. "What man doesn't stray, but who goes around shouting about it like you? Family scandals shouldn't be. Don't you even understand such a simple principle as not airing dirty laundry in public? All those years of education wasted on you. Besides, Wenqian loves you so much. At most, he's just been getting closer to Lin Chuxue, and you're already accusing him of fooling around. Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Ha!" I turned my gaze toward the outside of the house. Shen Wenqian and his younger sister Qingro stood extremely close to each other. The two of them were talking about something unknown, laughing especially loudly. "I told you, getting the house back is impossible. Whatever you've agreed on, don't drag me into it." My mom was so angry that she pinched my waist hard. I lifted my clothes to look. There was a big bruise. After the meal, I came back from the bathhouse after taking a shower. In the room, Qingro was wandering around my room with a cloth bag, lipstick, snow cream, wooden comb. She picked them up, glanced at them briefly, and then stuffed them into her cloth bag. "Are these yours? You just take them like that. Have you gotten used to being a thief?" I snatched Qingro's cloth bag, dumped everything onto the bed and threw the cloth bag heavily onto the floor. "Qingxia, yes, she never calls me sister, even after all these years. Despite taking advantage of me countless times, she still refuses to call me sister." I dug at my ears. "I can hear you just fine. No need to shout." Qingro ran out crying, and moments later, my mom came in. As soon as she entered, she jabbed her finger at my forehead and scolded. "You've really become something, haven't you? Now that you've grown wings, you dare bully your sister. Why don't you try bullying outsiders? You're her older sister. Is it too much for her to take a little something from you? If I'd known you'd turn out like this, I should have drowned you in the river back then." I brushed her fingers away and sneered. "Didn't you try to drown me back then? When Qingro was in middle school, she dated a troublemaker. The village gossips saw them and spread vicious rumors. At the time, she grabbed me and dragged me toward the river, holding my head underwater while screaming that she'd sent me to school only for me to date delinquents. Love." She acted extremely furious and struck with particular viciousness. I genuinely thought I was about to be drowned to death right then and there. It wasn't until villagers rushed over to stop her that she finally slapped me several times and went home. From the villagers, I pieced together what had happened. Thinking she must have mistaken me for someone else, I hurried home to explain that it wasn't me who'd been hanging out with those troublemakers. But when I got there, I saw her holding Qingro in her arms. "Being a delinquent has no future. Stay away from them from now on." This time the villagers saw me hitting Qingxia. "They'll surely think it's Qingxia who's improper. Your reputation remains intact. Later, Mom. We'll find you a good man." Mom was stunned by my retort, then burst into tears. "Did I do wrong raising you? If I hadn't stopped you from hanging out with those troublemakers back then, would you have married into the city and found someone as refined as Wenqian? Good man," Qingro muttered softly. "As expected, not biologically related, simply impossible to tame." I spun around abruptly, my pupils dilating in shock. "What did you say?" Qingro's face turned deathly pale as she shook her head in panic. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms, but ignored the pain as I spoke word by word. "You said it. Indeed, not your own flesh and blood. Utterly ungrateful." Mom nervously grabbed my hand. "Don't listen to your sister's nonsense. She hasn't been right in the head lately. You two look so much alike. How could she not be my daughter? If you weren't my daughter, why would I raise you? It's not like our family has money to burn." She spoke with conviction, but to me, it all reeked of guilt. Normally, if I questioned anything, she wouldn't explain this much to me. She would just hit me or scold me. So that's how it is. I'm not her biological daughter at all. All these years, I've been tormenting myself, wondering why she only liked Qingro and not me. Today, I finally got the answer. I let out a long sigh, hugged her, and touched her hair. "I told you, there's no way I'm not your biological daughter." Mom's tense face softened as she laughed. Exactly. Plucking 2 strands of hair, I sighed and pushed her away helplessly. "Then Mom, why did you sacrifice my interests to fulfill?" "Sister, did mother-in-law promise to introduce a formal city worker to sister? Qingro's husband died 2 years ago from drinking. After his death, Guan Lanji went to bring Qingro back home. For the past 2 years, they've been searching for a suitable man for Qingro together. She couldn't bear to see Qingro suffer, so her standards were high. No smoking, No drinking, a stable job in the city, handling all household chores, and handing over his entire salary to Qingrou's management. With such conditions, forget that Qingrou was divorced and remarrying. Even if she were a young maiden getting married for the first time, no woman would dare to make such high demands. The outcome was predictable. No one was willing to entertain the idea. Guanlongji suddenly looked up at me. How did you know? Well, so why are you so biased? Don't tell me it's just because I'm the elder and she's the younger. Fingers vary in length. I can understand favoritism, but this level of bias is absolutely abnormal. You're doing well now, while Roro is struggling. You're both my daughters. I can't bear to see either of you suffer. Is that wrong? Since that's how you feel, I'll just leave. Guanlongji grabbed Qingrou's hand and walked out. Just the same old trick again. In the past, I would have gone to persuade her to come back. Now, not a chance. Guanlongji turned her head back at every step. I never called out to stop her. When she stepped out of the wooden door, I walked forward and, under her delighted gaze, coldly slid the bolt shut. It's getting late. Take your time leaving. I won't see you off. The next day, carrying strands of my own hair and those I'd pulled from Guanlongji during our embrace the night before, I rushed straight to the hospital for a paternity test. After leaving the hospital, I went to a consulting firm and hired a private investigator to dig up Guanlongji's past for me. 7 days later, the hospital's paternity test results came out. My hand rested on the test report, trembling uncontrollably. I tried several times but couldn't bring myself to open it. Taking another deep breath, I finally opened the paternity test report. The appraisal report was lengthy, with densely packed text at the beginning that I couldn't make out clearly, my eyes fixed straight on the conclusion line. After appraisal, Qingxia and Guanlongji do not share a biological parent-child relationship. Tears uncontrollably welled up in my eyes, dampening the appraisal report. Years of injustice finally had an explanation. Trembling laughter kept spilling from my mouth, growing louder and louder. Good, very good. I no longer have to beg for Guanlongji's motherly love. Busybody was highly efficient. A month later, they handed me a file folder. 38 years ago, Guanlongji and her cousin Tangi gave birth together at the hospital. This was nothing unusual, but back then, Guanlongji had spent a fortune at a clinic to check the fetus's gender. It was a boy. She had proudly boasted about this news to many people, but after the child was born, it turned out to be a girl. The twists and turns in this matter need no elaboration. It was simply Guanlongji, seeing Tangi's favorable conditions and unwilling to let her own son suffer, who swapped her son with Tangi's child, sending her son to enjoy a life of luxury in the Tang family. And I am Tangi's child. The information provided by Know-It-All was very comprehensive. It even included Tangi's current address. I took leave from the factory to go search for my relatives. I came home only to find all my money gone. I immediately grabbed my passbook and went to the bank to check, only to discover all the money inside had been withdrawn. The only people who knew the passbook password were me and Shen Wenqian. I rushed back to the factory looking for him, but Shen Wenqian wasn't there. I found out from my coworkers that Lin Chushua fainted at the factory yesterday and was hospitalized, but she couldn't afford the medical bills. It was Shen Wenqian who paid them. He even stayed at the hospital to take care of her. I was so angry I could grind my teeth. After being reborn, I was so busy fighting for the house and getting a paternity test that I actually forgot to change the bankbook password. After finding out which ward Lin Chushua was in, I headed straight to the hospital. The hospital gown is so rough, it's rubbing my skin red. Wenqian, thank you for buying me such comfortable pajamas. Lin Chushua sat on the bed wearing a pink and white silk pajama set. Gazing affectionately at Shen Wenqian sat on a stool, feeding her spoonfuls of chicken soup with a gentle expression. What's the big deal? You should rest well and focus on recovering your health. That's what really matters. Don't worry. Once Qingxia returns, I'll definitely persuade her to give the house back to you. That rented place of yours is cramped and dark. How can you recover there? Shen Wenqian's voice grew increasingly choked with emotion as he spoke, his heart aching more and more. Qingxia used to be very sensible, but ever since my mom splashed a bucket of water on her that day, I don't know if she's deliberately opposing me and my mom. She's been acting. Things are getting increasingly out of hand. Bang! I couldn't take it anymore and rushed into the ward, kicking over the small table with one foot. Chicken soup and rice spilled all over the floor. Some even splashed onto Lin Chushua. She quickly stepped back, crying out in pain while rolling up her pant leg, revealing a reddened burn on her calf. Shen Wenqian didn't bother picking a fight with me and hurried over to examine Lin Chushua's leg. Once Lin Chushua had recovered enough to wipe away her tears pitifully, Shen Wenqian finally turned to glare at me with a dark expression. Raising his hand, I grabbed a nearby table. Guess which of us three will end up more injured? Shen Wenqian reluctantly lowered his hand. What nonsense are you spouting now? I reached out my hand. Where's the money from my savings account? Shin Wenqian avoided eye contact. I don't know anything about money. He refused to admit it till the end. I pointed a stool at Lin Chuxue. Her situation. Your coworkers told me everything. What are you pretending for? Shin Wenqian closed his eyes, steeled his heart, and gritted his teeth. The money's all gone. There was over 3,000 yuan in the passbook. All the savings I had painstakingly accumulated over the years. Lin Chuxue suddenly fainted and was taken to the hospital, where she was diagnosed with acute appendicitis complicated by ovarian cyst torsion. Both require open surgery and laparoscopic surgery, respectively. The two surgeries cost around 2,000 yuan in total. After the surgery, Lin Chuxue complained about the roughness of the hospital gown and insisted on eating something delicious. Shin Wenqian bought her 2 sets of high-end silk pajamas for 400 yuan. Went to the state-run restaurant again and had the chef specially prepare nutritious chicken soup and plain congee suitable for her to drink, costing 100 yuan. On his way back, worried that Lin Chuxue wouldn't get enough nutrition after surgery and might struggle to recover, he stopped by the supply and marketing cooperative to buy her bird's nest, donkey hide gelatin, and milk, flour and other supplements. Not a single penny left in the passbook from now on, hearing that all the money was gone. My chest tightened with pain, my vision went black, and I nearly collapsed. My money, all the money I've worked so hard to save over the years, it's all gone. Shin Wenqian rushed over to help me up. Don't scare me like that. Money can always be earned back. I looked up and saw his face, then mustered all my strength to slap him hard. Talk is cheap. Then how come he hasn't saved a single penny all these years? How dare he only steal my passbook and not my mother-in-law's? Shin Wenqian covered his face, noticing a crowd of onlookers gathered outside the ward, and kicked the door shut with a bang. Qingxia, I'm your man. When we're out in public, can't you save me some face? Why are you being so unreasonable now? I want a divorce. I can't live with you anymore. Shin Wenqian finished shouting, crossed his arms, and looked at me with confidence. Divorce was rare in those days, especially for women. The gossip was particularly vicious. Just stepping outside would invite whispers and ridicule. He was betting I wouldn't dare to leave. Divorce. Whoever doesn't divorce is a dog. But before divorcing, give me back my money. Shin Wenqian's triumphant expression visibly froze as he hesitated and said, Did you hear what I said clearly? Divorce? I can't stand living with you either. Marrying you in the first place was me being blind. Shin Wenqian flew into a rage, grabbing me by the throat. Are you seeing another man, who gave you the nerve to ask me for a divorce? He punched me in the stomach again, so eager to divorce me. Are you already pregnant with some bastard's child? Lin Chuxue timidly spoke up from the side. Last Thursday, I think I saw Sister Xiaxia having dinner with a strange man at the state-run restaurant. They seemed to be chatting very happily. Shin Wenqian's grip tightened more and more. I could barely breathe. Gathering all my strength into my foot, I kicked hard at his crotch. Shin Wenqian let out a scream, curled up on the ground, unable to stand. I grabbed a stool and smashed it down hard. How dare you choke me? How dare you slander me? Shin Wenqian was beaten until his head was bleeding. Lin Chuxue screamed and tried to run away, but I grabbed her by the collar of her pajamas, yanked her back, and slapped her repeatedly. The sound of slaps filled the air, accusing me of fooling around outside. How about I report you two for your affair first? The authorities are cracking down hard on improper relationships between men and women these days. If you're not married and sleeping together, you might as well be lining up for execution. Shin Wenqian's face turned pale, then green, then purple. It was a truly ghastly sight. Qingxia, don't go around slandering people carelessly. Slander me if you must, but why drag Chuxue into this? Do you have any idea how serious this accusation is? Me, slander her? If you two weren't fooling around, why would you steal my passbook to pay for her surgery? I'll pay you back later. Why keep bringing it up? That money was just sitting idle in the bank anyway. What's wrong with me lending it to Chuxue? I want it now. No money. Shin Wenqian picked up Lin Chuxue and left without hesitation. If he won't give it, I'll just take it myself. I returned to my in-laws' house with 4 tall, strong men in tow. I directed them to move all the valuable furniture from the house to the second-hand market: television, refrigerator, bicycle, sewing machine, radio, newly made wardrobe and bed, all lined up, selling at reasonable prices. They were all good items. Even second-hand could fetch a decent price, totaling over 3,000 yuan, nearly 200 yuan more than the savings. Some of the furniture was bought by families from the alley. Seeing them carry the furniture back, the mother-in-law squeezed in to ask about the prices. Which spendthrift is selling things so cheap? If I'd known earlier, I would have waited to buy now. The style is exactly the same as what I have at home, but profit is plentiful, loss is huge. Only after entering her home and seeing it completely empty did she let out a series of screams. "There's a thief, everything in my house has been stolen." The kind neighbor pointed at my room and told her that I was the one who moved all the furniture away and sold it. The mother-in-law burst into the room, trying to hit me. I grabbed her hand. It was Shin Wen-chien who made me sell it, and I gave all the money to him. As a woman, how could I have the courage to sell family something? "Oh right, he's at the hospital, you'd better hurry, or he'll spend all his money on Lin Chuxue and leave nothing for you." The mother-in-law grabbed a rolling pin and dashed toward the hospital. I was about to go back inside to continue packing when someone suddenly yanked me back. "Mom, have you lost your mind? How could you sell all our furniture at such a low price? You're seriously messed up in the head. No wonder Grandma and Dad never liked you." "Oh, it's my son Shin Yen, who's in his senior year of high school, back home from the provincial capital for vacation. I'm happy," I said, brushing his hand away with a forced smile. "What decisions I make aren't yours to question, and I don't need their approval. In my past life, because I lost that house, he refused to call me mom again, yet warmly addressed Lin Chuxue as Aunt Lin, treating her like his own mother, yet he made me help take care of his child. Later, when the child grew up, I didn't even receive a single word of gratitude. In my past life, I spent my entire existence yearning for my family's love, but Shin Yan's blood also carried the inferior genes of the Shin family. I never received any care, only endless suppression and resentment. I won't take this son anymore. As for his future, whoever cares can deal with it. This old lady's had enough. I'm going to find my real family." With money and documents in hand, I boarded the green-skin train bound for Haishur. 7 days later, I met my biological mother. She was wearing a white dress with a fitted khaki trench coat over it, looking intelligent, gentle, and elegant, very beautiful. But when I told her I was her biological daughter, she suddenly sneered, her gaze sharp as she scrutinized me from head to toe. "Who sent you? What kind of trick are you trying to pull?" I took up the paternity test in Guanlanji's photo. 38 years ago, Guanlanji switched her son with me. "If you don't believe me, I am your biological daughter. We can go to the hospital for our paternity test." When she saw Guanlanji's photo, she froze for a long moment, then suddenly stood up and hugged me. "I'm sorry, I lost you." Scalding tears fell on the back of my neck. It turns out that 20 years ago, Mom had already discovered the truth, and she drove Guanlanji's son out of the house. She had repeatedly placed newspaper ads searching for Guanlanji and me, published many missing person notices, and even personally traveled to many cities to look for us, but because Guanlanji had added Ji to her name, she never received even a shred of useful information. Over the years, her career flourished, and many knew she was searching for her cousin and daughter. People would come knocking every now and then, claiming to be relatives. What began as excitement gradually turned to calm, then spiraled into breakdown. In recent years, she was even diagnosed with bipolar disorder. During manic episodes, haunted by the thought that she had lost her daughter, she suffered unbearable pain and harmed herself multiple times. When depressed, she would unconsciously imagine her daughter suffering hardships and dying away from home, wanting to join her in death. When she first met me, her heart trembled, because my eyes were exactly like my father's, and I inherited his fair, pale skin. But she also feared I might have had plastic surgery. Until she saw Guanlanji's photo, she finally believed that I was her biological daughter. Mom took me back to the villa. Inside, there was actually a room that had always been prepared for me. It was filled with dresses designed by Mom herself for me, as well as all kinds of the most fashionable clothes on the market. "Mom has been waiting for you to come back." After learning about all the things Shin Wen-chien did to me, Mom wished she could grind his bones to dust. "Xia, Shin Wen-chien isn't worthy of you. Come, Mom will go back with you and help you divorce him. I heard I'm not Guanlanji's daughter and that I have a wealthy mother." I didn't have to go looking. Shin Wen-chien came knocking on his own. In the hotel suite, Shin Wen-chien smiled obsequiously. "Mother-in-law, I've cooked Xiaxia's favorite dishes at home. Shall we go back and chat over dinner?" Then he scolded me. "Xia, you're really something. It's mother-in-law's first time, and you didn't even give me a heads up." I couldn't be bothered to watch his antics and directly brought up divorce. Shin Wen-chien's smile froze on his face. "Xia, I know you're bothered by Chuxue. Don't worry, I can cut ties with her completely. Just give her 1 million yuan so she can live comfortably for the rest of her life. And I promise I'll never speak another word to her." I couldn't help but scoff. 1 million? Are you even worthy of her? Shin Wen-chien was forcibly dragged out by Mom's bodyguards. With the help of Mom's lawyers, Shin Wen-chien and I successfully divorced. Half a month later, Shin Yan begged me to take him away, calling out Mom and Grandma over and over. I didn't agree. Could it be? I've been reborn. On the day we left, Shin Wen-chien and Lin Chuxue were both fired from the textile factory due to personal conduct issues. The two got married as they wished. The wedding was very shabby. Life after marriage was also unsatisfactory. Lin Chushua was accustomed to having clothes handed to her and meals served to her, completely incapable of doing household chores. When she tried to find work, no formal employer would hire her due to the blemish in her records, leaving her only with heavy labor jobs. But she couldn't endure such hardship, so she stayed at home all day, doing nothing, after Shen Wenqian was fired. His mother-in-law couldn't accept that her outstanding son would end up like this and suffered a stroke. Shen Yan's grades plummeted, he failed to get into college, and refused to work out of shame. Shen Wenqian had to support 3 people alone, coming home to cook for them, and then tending to his paralyzed mother-in-law's toileting needs. He was in unbearable agony, breaking down and screaming, demanding Lin Chushua learn to do household chores. Lin Chushua refused. "It's not like this is my first day being like this. I've never been good at housework." Shen Wenqian, in a fit of anger, hit her, holding a grudge. Lin Chushua took advantage of Shen Wenqian going to work to get involved with another man, moved out, and refused to see Shen Wenqian. Shen Wenqian was furious, breaking into a house with a knife late at night. He killed Lin Chushua. When caught, he kept muttering about regretting arguing with me and divorcing me, but who cares? After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.